Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Natalie J. And I am your host, Natalie J. This is our premiere show on Patreon. Our lineup begins with Mr. Melvin P. Coleman, photographic artist and blogger. As we approach the holiday season, I'm sure those of us who might be slightly challenged with picture composition, we gladly accept any words of wisdom so we can capture that special golden moment. And that is the reason why we have invited Mr. Melvin P. Coleman to the microphone. So sit back, relax, and I hope you have your coffee or tea ready, and it's sweetened just to your taste. Up next, Philly's own son, Melvin Coleman. Melvin Coleman, photographic artist, blogger. Welcome to Conversations with Natalie J. As we emerge into the 21st century and all of its beauty and chaos, for those who are interested in sharing their photography from a pure state, how would you guide them, and what would you share about technology in this photographer's world of creativity?
That's a good question. Okay, let me do it in reverse. Technology. I think technology is a wonderful thing. It has made the arts, regardless of what your medium is, affordable and accessible. Back in the day, I had to shoot with a camera, I had to shoot with film, I had to pay someone to process it, and you wind up shooting over and over again until you got the image you wanted. Now, everything's digital. Shoot, look at it, don't like it, go back and shoot again. As far as the, talent is concerned, I think everyone has talent. I don't care who it is. You just have to discover it and find out what makes you tick. I think you should, when it comes to photography, I think you should shoot what you see and what you feel, regardless of how someone else might feel about it, because you can't please everybody. So you might as well start with yourself.
Good thought. So what are some of the tools that you use, besides the power of the pen, because you're also a blogger? And so let's begin with the photography side, and then we go over to the blogging side. What kind of tools are you using besides the camera?
Various pieces of software. I use Photoshop, Lightroom. Those are my two main pieces of software that I use. I try not to enhance my images too much. I try to just shoot what I see, and that's what I publish. I have started, though, getting into compositional work, where you might take several pieces from different photos and put them together to make one photo. That type of artistic genre I have started getting into. But for the most part, I just shoot what I see and find something that I like, and that's what I post.
You say that so modestly. I've looked at some of your work, and it doesn't look so easy.
Well,
and I'm a photographer, so I'm looking at it going, oh, my, that's nice. Woo.
Well, to be honest, I may shoot 100 shots to get just one or two. So,
okay.
There is some, artistic leeway there. But to me, it's worth it. If I can get that one shot that excites me, then I'm good. Then the other 99 was worth it. But I never throw anything away. I keep everything I've ever shot, good, bad, or indifferent, because you never know.
Well, how long can you keep your photographic work? Isn't there a limit to 10 years on CDs or whatever? Don't they have a limit to how long you'll be able to keep such an image?
No, not really. The smart thing to do would be to transfer your images from one hard drive to another periodically, so the drive doesn't become degraded. One of the other things is that I keep my images in RAW format as opposed to JPEG format, because every time you open up a JPEG, you lose some of the integrity of the image. So I always use the RAW, and then I convert it to the JPEG.
Okay, so back that up a little bit again. Everybody's familiar with JPEG, but what's that other word that you're using?
RAW, RAW.
RAW.
Yeah, it is the, let's say you have a old camera that shoots a 10 megapixel camera. Every single pixel, it is not compressed. So it's this huge image with all the different shades, all the different colors, and it's in a non-compressed format. So you have more, what's the word I'm looking for, artistic ability with it, as opposed to a JPEG, where a JPEG is compressed.
Okay, back in the day, and I really mean way back in the day, there was a style of photography that was emerging, and it was similar to calling at the time, something like a papagram or some kind of name like that. Do you know what I'm talking about? And it was really a lot of darkroom work using a variety of filters and sheets.
Like a Pantone?
Almost like that.
Okay.
All right, so is that the parallel between your RAW? Because that's the image that I have when you started speaking about RAW.
Okay, I can give you a very good parallel. RAW is like having 10 pennies, and JPEG is like having a dime.
Oh, okay. I get that. So that's for all of those individuals who want to have 10 pennies as opposed to a solid dime.
There you go. More change in your pocket.
I like the solid dime thing. This is a thought that I had today. So many want to get ready for the upcoming holiday season, right? And they want to promote their products. So what would you suggest that they use? You know, they might have some memorable photographs. And one of the things that I was thinking of, you're familiar with New York City's Macy's department store and the Christmas window?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking something like that somebody might want to capture, not necessarily that per se, that's just an image, and it's really very, very beautiful. If they wanted to do something like that, what is your suggestion in terms of lighting? If we're going to shoot at night, or if they're going to shoot as the sun is beginning to set, and how do they shoot without getting their own self in the picture?
Well, let's start with night shots. Use a tripod, always. Use a automatic release button. It's a little cord that you plug into one of the outputs of the camera, and it allows you to hold the shutter open for as long as you want. So you can get as much light in as you need to get the image. Always use a tripod. You don't have to worry about getting in the picture. When it comes to sunset, just shoot what you see. I mean, there's usually enough light to do that. You don't always need a flash to shoot. As long as you can keep the shutter open, you're going to get enough light in to get your image. And it's about what you're looking for. Some people might want the little fluorescent look of the image as opposed to something clear. You follow what I'm saying? You know, so it depends on what you're looking for, you know. I think everybody's got a different flair when it comes to their artwork, and I think that's what they should go for. I don't think that they should try to imitate or emulate anybody else. I really think they should try to just develop their own skill set and their own talent. Somebody's going to like it other than you, and your mom will always like it.
Oh, then there's that. Then there's that. How true.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some editing tools. And wait a second now. You're using a digital camera, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
So you also have the flexibility to shoot videos, correct?
Now I do, yes. I just got that little toy.
Ah, the toys. Yes, I remember the toys. So what's the difference in the shooting? Any? Or is it all the same? When you're shooting video as opposed to stills?
Me, personally, I still like stills. I'm not a video person. I started getting into video because I wanted to do some YouTube channels. That was really the only reason why I got into it. I honestly didn't want to have my video inside my camera. I didn't want to have the ability to shoot video and stills with the same device. But for portability's sake, I had to go that way. I tried looking at some camcorders. I even purchased a few. I had to return them. I just didn't like the quality. And my next step up would have been one of those professional cameras, like, $5,000. Don't have it. So it's like, let me step this down a bit. So I got a Canon TSI. And the reason why I got the Canon was because I shoot, all of my equipment is made by Canon. So I can use my lenses on every piece of every camera that I have. I can interchange my lenses. That was the reason why I stick with Canon.
I can vouch for Canon. Excellent cameras, in my opinion, as well.
Even my 35 millimeter is a Canon. And
yeah.
I can interchange my DSLR lenses with my 35 millimeter camera.
So when you're getting ready to work on a particular project, what is your process?
Honestly, I don't. I do it in reverse. I just go and shoot. And then based upon what I've taken that day, that week, that month, then I build a project around it. For me, it's less limiting because if I go with a specific goal in mind, then I miss some of the other shots that are out there. But if I just go and shoot, just go to a location and shoot all day long, then I can build a project around what I've shot or the images that I have taken.
So you don't have a shot sheet?
Mm-mm.
Uh-oh, rebellion, Maverick in the house.
Nope. Well, what happens is that when I go and I look at my images, like through Lightroom or one of the other browsing pieces of software where you can see all your images lined up, it comes to you. The project just comes to you. You might see that you've taken, let's say, 27 pictures of a particular building, and your theme just happens to gravitate toward architecture. Or you might see that you took a lot of pictures of trees and flowers, so your project might gear toward nature. So I think that if you just shoot, I think the project will come naturally. I think maybe subconsciously I might go out with something in my mind, but I don't really realize it until after it's all said and done. Because I find it, for me, I can't speak for anybody else. For me, it's just frustrating when I have a particular project in mind and nothing seems to come to me to support that project. But if I just shoot, then I can create as many projects as I want from the images that I've taken.
So skills are important. However, it seems to me it's not enough. Can you give some examples or experiences you've had that indicate or demonstrate either or neither nor?
When people criticize your work.
Well, I think you began this by saying it's okay.
It's okay, but you have to be able to take the criticism. And I think also, though, a lot has to do with who you present your work to. Because what you have in mind and the person or the organization or the person or the company that you're presenting it to might not be what they're looking for. So their criticism is going to seem a little bit more harsh because they're criticizing you on the basis that this is not what they're looking for. It's not that your work isn't good. It's just that it's not the topic that they're looking for. And I think sometimes we might take that a little bit too personal. So I would say that know your audience first. So whoever you want to present your work to, make sure it's in line with what your images look like. And then present it and take the criticism. Make the next shot better.
Everybody says know your audience. What does that
mean?
But
no, everybody does. But you know what? You'd be surprised. You think you know your audience, but when you actually go out there and start presenting your work, you'll realize that, you know what, that's not the audience that your work draws. Because I think your work, your creativity will draw its own audience. It's like water seeks its own level. That's the best way I can explain it. You know, everybody didn't like Picasso.
I know, and they didn't like Van Gogh either.
But Picasso, especially because he was doing abstract, and a lot of people didn't get it.
Right.
So he was shunned in the art world. It took him, almost 100 years to really be recognized for his creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So
before we go in another direction, talk a little bit about your introduction to photography. What is your background?
Well, self-made. When I was about 16 years old, I bought my first camera. It was a Pentax.
Wait, Melvin. For those listening, he's really dating himself when he says a Pentax.
Well, they still make Pentax. They still make them.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
That's okay. It was a 35 millimeter. Then I went out and started shooting. Realized that buying film, having film developed, and realizing that out of 36 shots in a roll, or 24, depending upon what kind of roll you got, you only got 2 good shots. So I decided that maybe I need to buy me an enlarger and some chemicals and learn how to develop my own stuff. So my father helped me set up my little dark room up on the 3rd floor. I'm from North Philly. We have 3-story buildings. So I lived up on the 3rd floor. So my dad helped me create a little dark room. That's when I started developing my own work. Started getting more into the development side of photography and the chemical side. And then not too long after that, the first digital camera came out. It was like, I think maybe 2 megapixel camera. Then it went to 4, then it went to 6, 8, and 10.
Hmm.
So I just, books. I opened up a book, learned how to read, and just went for it. I did take a class.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Didn't you take any classes?
In junior high school, I took a photography class. That's when the bug really bit me, when I was in junior high school. And I've never been without a camera. I was the one at every family function taking pictures, and that was me. Never in them, always taking them though.
Were you exposed to the Model Cities program?
Yeah. On the very end of it, my younger brother and sister benefited more from Model Cities than I did. They were younger than me. It just started when I was in junior high school, and at that time it was geared toward elementary school. They wanted to get first graders through the 6th graders ready and prepared for junior high school. So I got it on the tail end of it, but I did benefit some from it. Yes.
It was a totally different Model Cities than the one I was in. The one I was in was strictly adults.
Really?
Yeah.
We had in Philly. We had one for kids. Mm-hmm. It was like that Get Set Head Start thing. Philly had some, what do you call it? Cutting edge. There you go. They had some real cutting edge programs, and Philly was a testing pot for a lot of different programs.
In New York, what they did was they had the Model Cities program, and it was a combination of television and radio production, but they took broadcast journalist slant, so it was more news gathering.
Oh.
They took that slant with it as opposed to production. So sometimes when I listen to people, I can tell if they did production or if they came through a news department. How long it takes for them to set up. That's all it takes. How long does it take you to set up? 3 hours? Oh, yeah, okay.
Production.
Yeah, definitely production. My other thought was, before you embark upon this new journey that you're going on, what was the motivation behind? This is a new page in your book of life, and I guess you could say a new voyage. So what is your planning process? And do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, or is it too soon?
Let's see. I come from the old school. My parents were old school. You get a job, you work 25, 30 years, you retire. And that's it.
Got it.
They drilled that into my head. I had job after job after job after job. I hated working for somebody for more than 2 years because to me it became mundane. It became monotonous. It's like I'm only doing the same thing over and over again. And it wasn't exciting enough for me. And I've always wanted to travel. I mean, that has always been my thing. I've always wanted to travel. My parents weren't rich. I don't have a trust fund. So my travels were limited to me moving from one state to another while I looked for a job. So I didn't get the opportunity to really dive into the culture of a new city the way I wanted to, because I was too busy working, finding an apartment, setting up house, the normal things that we do when we relocate from one place to another. And then we find ourselves back at point A again, wanting to get away from this to try something new. So, and never really getting the opportunity to venture out, only on the weekends, if the weekends permitted. So I always wanted to travel. So this time around I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. All I want to do is shoot and travel. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to take pictures and travel. And I had to figure out, how was I going to do this? I'm not rich. I don't have a bank account like that. I ain't got it like that. So I decided that, well, why don't you get a van and just live in your van, travel in your van, and see the country and take your pictures. So I started researching about van life. A lot of YouTube. I love YouTube. A lot of information.
I can tell.
Trust me, because at first I wanted to see if it was something I could do. Living in a box. I mean, you're living in something that's no bigger than your bathroom, and you have to do everything in it. So it's like, okay, can I really do this? Mm-hmm. So without going stir crazy. Mm-hmm. So as I learned more, and as I looked at some of my other skill set, I was a Boy Scout, I was a Cub Scout, I was in the military. It was like, okay, so I got this SEAL training down pat. I can do this camping thing. I like to drive, so I can do the driving thing. So I think I could pretty much make this work. I think the biggest challenge was becoming a minimalist. That was the part that really shook me to the core. It was like I had to get rid of everything. Everything. Clothes, electronics. I really had to downsize because everything has to fit inside of a van. And I think that's where my true character and my true nature really surfaced. In order to do something that you really want to do, you have to make some sacrifices. And the question was, are you willing to make the sacrifice? And it took me a minute. It really did. But I finally come up with the answer. It's like, yeah, I do. So here I am.
So talk about that in connection with your blog and introduce your blog also.
Oh, okay. Well, my blog is mpcoleman.wordpress.com. I wanted to share the experience with people like me. Like I say, I don't have no money. I'm a poor man. Poor. But I wanted people to
please.
But I am. but I wanted people to understand that it's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have that's important. Because you can make it work with very little if you just are determined to make it happen. So I wanted to share that journey, and I wanted people to. There are so many people who want to go into business for themselves, or they want to change careers, and they're so afraid because they don't know what's around the corner or what's going to happen. So I wanted them to see that, I'm just like you are. I'll share my experiences with you so you can see that, what? The same thing that happens to you happens to me. It's no different. That's the one thing we all have in common in life is experience. It's all the same. So go for what you want to go for. So I wanted to share that part. I wanted them to know magic behind it, that I had trials and tribulations just like everybody else, sometimes more. But if you're determined, if you really want to do something, you can do it. You can make it work. So that was the purpose for the blog. Then I just enjoyed sharing my stories about my pictures, where they came from, what I was doing when I took a certain photo, my little journey. And it's funny because I thought my journey was just beginning, I come to realize my journey began a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was the irony of it all. When I started going back and blogging on some of the things that I've done previously, that's when I realized, you've been on this journey for a long time. This ain't just start. It's like you've been doing this for a while. It's like, wow, yeah. So it's just another chapter in that book, in that journey.
Before we end this conversation, I'd like for you to just give some information, contact information, your blog information, website, things like that, so that listeners could reach out to you.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. My blog is M as in Melvin, P as in Peter, Coleman, COLEMAN, .wordpress.com. From my blog, you can reach any of my social media outlets, all from that one blog. You can also email me at M as in Melvin, P as in Preston, Coleman, COLEMAN, 23 @gmail.com.
What's the name of your blog?
What is the name of my blog, Natalie?
Oh, you drew a blank at last.
I was like, I just look at it as, Living My Dream. I'm sorry. What is the name of my blog? It's called Living My Dream, and it's the journey of a lifetime. That was so funny.
A senior moment.
Yeah, really. Wow. Yeah, Living My Dream, the journey of a lifetime. And it's just, it's just my little story.
Any last thoughts for an upcoming photographer or blogger?
Just do you, as the young folk would say. Do you. I will share this. As we get older, we all look at our lives and we wonder if anyone's ever going to remember us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you this. Thanks to the internet, you'll be immortalized forever.
Yeah, I believe that. After
you're dead and gone, 100 years from now, someone will get on the internet. They may not be using it like we're using it. Technology might change, but I'm sure the information is still going to be there. And they might type in your name or type in someplace that you've been or something that you've done. And you know what? You'll pop up. So not only can people like Julius Caesar and some of the other great historical figures have been immortalized, now you can too. So it's like, you know what? Use technology. Use it.
A new playing field for the 21st century, huh?
For real, yeah. Yeah. So you can use it. It's your legacy.
So what I'd like you to do is one last time give your information, including your blog's name. All right?
Okay. Okay, it's Living My Dream, The Journey of a Lifetime. You can find it at mpcoleman.wordpress.com. And you can Google me. If you Google Melvin Coleman or Living My Dream, I'll pop up. I got enough stuff out there. Finally,
congratulations.
I'm on the Google list. Thank you. I'm on the Google list.
All
so
right.
Please, feel free. Drop me a line anytime. And you can find me on Facebook under Melvin Coleman.
Well, my dear, best to you. I enjoyed this nice conversation with you.
Thank you for having me, Natalie.
Oh, you're most welcome. I look forward to hearing from you as you journey on. Do keep in touch with us little folks over here.
Will do.
All righty. You have a great one. Ciao, Melvin.
Great. Ciao. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'd like to thank Melvin Coleman so very much for taking the time this evening and having a discussion with us and sharing his journey about this great adventure he's getting ready to embark upon. My hat goes off to you. I do not like driving. So what I would also like to do is just remind you that next week, Conversations with Natalie